Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. To my left, WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi. Our guest on the second half is Jeff Diehl. He is the CEO of the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. Welcome to the program. A lot of people might not know exactly what your agency is, so why don't you give us a brief overview?
Well, we're a quasi-state agency that's really the centralized hub of local infrastructure investment, and we really focus on four sectors. Water, which is clean drinking water, what we call clean water, which is wastewater, sewers, energy in both public sector and commercial, and we're working on residential, brownfields, and municipal road and bridge. So it's really those four. We borrow money from the market, so we use public sector capital. We combine it with limited amounts of federal and state capital, and make investments in local infrastructure. Before we get to Infrastructure Week, you brought up borrowing, and
we're watching the Fed tick up interest rates right now. How does that impact you?
It impacts us because, again, at the margin, it makes projects more expensive, obviously. But again, a lot of what we're doing is we're taking smaller loans, we're putting them into packages of bigger transactions so we lower the costs, and we're able, because of the capital we have, to lend at below market costs. So we're lending to municipalities anywhere between 25 and 35% below where they could go to market.
Are you telling municipalities right now, borrow now, this is the time?
Yeah, I mean, we're really out there in terms of better educating about our programs, and yes, about borrowing, but we also want to walk a fine line. We don't want communities to be borrowing money too early, because then it just sits in the bank, costs money to have it there, and they're not dispersing it into investments into their projects quick enough. So it's a fine line that we run in terms of trying to get projects in sooner to lower the cost, but also we don't want municipalities to be paying interest on money they're not using.
I had one other money question before we go to the projects you do. Borrowing by quasi-public agencies has occasionally been controversial in the last decade in Rhode Island. Can you just explain to me the flow of money that you end up loaning out? That where do you start? What are you starting with to go out and borrow from the markets? Kind of where the money comes from, so people understand that.
Well, it's depends on our program. We have limited capital that comes into us either from the federal government or the state government. It's one of our challenges. We're not a line item on the budget, so we don't have a consistent, steady source of capital. It's appropriated by the feds every year in terms of our water programs, and they've just increased it this year by 35%, so we have more money to put to work. We get limited money from the state, but the most part, in fact, we're number one in our water programs of borrowing private sector capital, head and shoulders above any other state. And so we're borrowing over $4 for every dollar that we're getting in capital from the federal government or the state governments. We're actually using more. But the way that we work is we don't have any support from the state from a credit point of view. And what we do is we lend to municipalities or sewer enterprises or drinking water companies, and it's the proceeds from those loans that pay back our loans.
So you had a starting capital, and you can just keep using it as the old loans paid back. You can go out and do another loan, and on and on.
Yeah, so it's self-perpetuating. We get capital back, and we recycle that into more loans.
We've been talking like at 30,000 feet about the infrastructure bank. What do you tell people when they ask you, what's the single biggest project? Like, what's the tangible thing you can point to so the people of Rhode Island understand what you're handling right now?
Well, I think, we look at infrastructure really as an economic development tool, and we do both very large projects and very small projects. So, we've been very active in Narragansett Bay and hardening their programs. We help finance increasing the berm at the Warwick wastewater treatment facility to prevent flooding like we had in 2010.
That was wild.
One of the pictures we use is the before and after. It's quite powerful. But we also lend money to homeowners. We've got a very active program to help homeowners remediate cesspools and fix broken septic systems. In fact, over the last 3 years, we've added 70% of capital into that program, and it's over $17 million and close to 800 loans.
People are going to hear that, and they're going to wonder if you handle sewer tie-ins, too. We see the controversy in Coventry. It's $20,000 per house to do a sewer tie-in. Are you involved in that at all?
Yeah, I mean, we have a sewer tie-in loan fund. It's not used as actively as we'd like, and that's one of the things that I've been trying to focus on is how we get our programs better known around the state.
Get them out there, yeah.
And so it's a program where we'll lend money interest-free to homeowners to finance that sewer tie-in. It's still about, part of the controversy you've seen is about the charge for doing new sewer lines. And different communities do it differently. So it's something that we're very interested in and trying to work with communities in terms of how do we lower those costs.
You guys used to be the Clean Water Finance Agency, and it was a big push by Governor Raimondo and Treasurer Magaziner when they came into office to convert you into an infrastructure bank, which is a relatively sexier name for it, which there's other types of infrastructure banks out there, but that's what they called you. One of the things I think the Treasurer talked about at the time was he wanted you to end up doing a program where basically people could put solar panels on their roof and then put the cost into their property taxes so that even if the house was sold, it would still get paid off. They felt like that could help get those financed better. Where does doing that stand?
Well, you brought up a good point. I mean, the governor and the treasurer working with the assembly changed not only our name but expanded our mandate dramatically from 3 years ago. And at that time we had two major programs, our drinking water and clean water. We had our community septic system loan program and the sewer tie-in. Now we've got a municipal road and bridge. We've got efficient building fund where we lend money to municipalities and quasi-state agencies to do energy efficiency and renewable projects and saving a lot of money for communities around the state. We also have a new brownfield remediation fund. And within the energy we're given not only public sector but commercial and residential. And we've set up the municipality, the Efficient Building Fund. We have a commercial PACE program, Property Assessed Clean Energy, which we've executed 7 transactions so far and saved to businesses across state over $4 million in energy costs. Next on our list of things to do is, we hope to have our first brownfield fund loan this summer. Next is the residential energy. And
how soon do you think you might be doing that?
Well, we're in the process really of understanding where the demand and we're there really not to supplant the private sector, but to really complement it and fill financing gaps. And so when we look at the residential market, we want to understand all the different programs that are out there. National Grid has a program. There's private sector programs. Where can we really be using residential PACE to have the most impact?
We have 20 seconds left in the program. Infrastructure Week coming up. Where can people go to get more information?
They can go to our website, riib.org, rib.org, and we're in the process of putting that schedule together. We'll have a number of roundtables to discuss infrastructure around the state, and we'll also have a number of events highlighting some of the projects we've done.
Jeff Diehl, thanks very much for joining us. I'm Tim White. We'll see you next week on Newsmakers.
Thank you.